Hello, beautiful souls. I hope you guys are having a terrific day today. Hope all is well in your world. My name is Yvette, known as Creative Renee on Facebook. I'd like to share my whole testimony with you all about my narcissistic abuse. Um, Last year, I gave y'all the ending of how it ended, but I didn't even give you fully that. But I believe that God has put it on my heart to share the whole testimony today. And so that's what I want to do because I want God to get his testimony. Um, so, anyway, the way things started in my narcissistic abuse, um, I knew this man that I got married to when I was 15 years old. So, automatically, we have a child together and we're co parenting, and I'm thinking that this person is who I believe him to be all these years. And so I was very easily persuaded to think he was a good person based on what he would show me. But that was not who he really was. Um, like they say, you never know what goes on behind closed doors until you live in that house with certain others. So I'll tell you like this, my house became a nightmare when I got with this person that I took serious. Um, my first encounter with him was when God told me after I married him, he was going to take the blinders off my eyes and show me with spiritual eyes who I was with. And he started stripping this person and he started showing me who this person really was. And the mask came off. Yes. It was dark seated. He knew that I was a Christian even before he married me, but there would be times when he would say certain girls were trying to get with him, and he wanted me to stand up to them on his behalf. And I would say to him, well, you know that you're married. What would make you think that I'm going to go and say something to a girl for you? You have to man up. You have to say it yourself. I'm not doing that. And that was my first encounter. Second encounter was when he said, when we came home from shopping, my daughter walks in the house first and says, Mom, Mr. So-and-so is gay. And I said, why would you say something like that? She says, um, look in the office at his computer. And I said, oh, okay. And then she says, well, if you don't believe me, get my other daughter to come over here, which is his daughter, my oldest daughter. And she came over, she took a look at it. She says, well, Mom, I don't know if Dad is gay or not, but he was looking at this today because it has the date and the time at the bottom of the computer. And then I said, okay, thank you. She went home. And then as time went on through that night, he came home that morning because he worked nights. And I said, well, I need to have a talk with you, but we can do it tomorrow. He says, okay. So when he gets up, I tell him that we saw on his computer that he was looking at gay porn. And I asked him, are you gay? He says, profanity, F-U, B's, and no, I ain't gay. And then I said, okay, because I'm not going to have a confrontation, because when you become a child of God, you pretty much know that confrontations only lead to more drama. So you just back away. And that's what I did. And then as time went on, a few days went by, and he said, Yvette, I want to find another job. Can you look for me a job on the computer? And I said, yes. I don't mind, but I said, I'm not good with computers. I said, but I do what I can. He said, you can do it. And I said, okay. And so I started navigating this tablet, and I got pretty good at the tablet. And everything that I could possibly see was revealed. He had a list of LGBT, trannies, cross-dressers, lesbians, um, bisexuals, and gays on this tablet, and it had addresses and it had phone numbers of where you could go and meet these people, and he had the towns of where he was going to meet these people. And I knew I was acquainted with all of his list because I'm familiar. I used to drive school bus, and so I'm familiar with these places he was going to, seeing these people. And so I got my answer more or less. But over time, his brother showed up over my house. And when his brother came over, I said to his brother, I said, first he came in the door, he was all happy, and he said, guess what, Yvette? I saw your sister on the boardwalk. And I said, no, you didn't see my sister. She lives in Seattle. He said, no, I seen her on the boardwalk. And I gave her a big kiss, and I said, well, you know she's married. What are you doing giving her a kiss? And he said, I don't care. I still gave her a kiss. And so anyway, as he was there, I said to him, well, I have something I want to show you. I said, but don't let your brother know that I showed it to you, because I looked at him as my brother. And he said, no, I know what it looks like, but no, my brother ain't gay. And then I said, okay. So he went back and he told his brother, because when I tried to use my cell phone, my SIMS card was stolen out of my cell phone, because his brother was trying to keep things under wrap. He didn't want anybody to know he was bi. And so, not to say that I was going to take it around and show everybody, but the thing about it, I used it for proof against him. I wanted him to know that, no more lies. Okay, you've been uncovered. Let's get you some help. But he wasn't trying to go that way with it. The next thing I know, his brother, the one I thought that was my brother, comes back to my house within a matter of days, and he steps over my threshold and he says to me, in front of his other brother, Yvette, you better stop saying that my brother is gay, or my other brother that lives in Carolina is going to come here and hurt you, and you don't want him to hurt you. And I was like, oh, no, you did not. And I called the police, and they came. When the police got to my house, they did a third-party report of a threat towards me made by his other brother against me. And the officer said to my husband, said, how could you let your brother come here into y'all's home and threaten your wife and tell your wife that one of your other brothers were going to hurt her based on her thinking that you're gay? That doesn't even make sense, man. I'm going to tell you right now, if that was my brother, he couldn't come back to my house, because you don't step into my house and threaten my wife at all. I don't get you, man. And so the officer left and gave me the report. And he said, and this one will be on record. In case something does happen, we have it on record. And then as time went on, it was months down the road, my husband decided he wanted to get around with me. So I started giving into it, sitting in a recliner, And as I'm getting back around with him, he's out of nowhere. He says, "Leave me alone, you bitch." And I was startled, and I said, "There's something in my mind wrong with this dude." So I started walking away. As I walked away, he got up and he choked me, just like a prisoner on those movies that you see where they choke someone. He choked me so bad that now I live with a still vocal cord. That is the reason why when you hear me sounding raspy, it's due to the fact that he choked me because he was mad. He was not himself after me finding out that he was gay. Cause no baby, you were cut off from everything. I don't work that way. I'm a Christian. I live for God. And so, no, I'm not going to hold you up into you being gay or bisexual, however you want to put it. People think because they're bisexual, that means they're not gay. No, you can have your cake and eat it too. When you get married as a wife for a man and a man for a wife, it's not the other way around. And so, um, he was very frustrated because um, I wasn't having it, and God wasn't having it either. And so this thing, over time, the next move that he made, he said, "Will you take me to work?" And the reason why he asked me to take him to work, let me clarify that too. He had amputations on his feet during COVID. He had got an infection in his foot. And when he got this infection, they took two of his toes. And then he wind up, while I had to take care of him because the nurse that he had, his insurance only covered him for maybe 2 weeks. And so she showed me and trained me how to take care of his wound while he couldn't do it. Then turned around after I took care of him, started going back, being nasty towards me and everything. I made sure he ate well and everything. And then next thing you know, he went back being nasty towards me. Then he had a third toe taken off. Had to go back in the hospital and get a third toe taken off. And I wound up taking care of him again. And so over time, um, the next move he made after he got healed pretty good and could go back to work. When he went back to work, he asked me would I take him to work that day, and I think it was due to he had some swelling in his foot. And I said, "Yeah, I'll take you to work." Right? I took him to was on my way taking him to work. He was rushing me in the house. Um, and so as he was rushing me, this particular day, he took himself to work. That particular day, he took himself to work. But then he came home frustrated. He came home frustrated. And I used to feel so sorry for him because he seemed to be miserable all the time. And he just couldn't find no happiness in himself. And so he went to work that day. The next day he went to work. And so when he went to work and came back home from work, over time, someone showed up at my house. He went to work right out the door. He went out the door, and after he went out the door, and I would say it was like a matter of seconds, someone was in the back of my house on my patio trying to get into my house. What happened was my daughter went to the kitchen to get a drink of water, and she could see through the blinds. She says, "Mom, some ugly man is in the back of your house trying to get into your house." And I said, "Okay, I'm going to call the police." So I called the police, and the police, when she was on the phone, she says, "Ask him what he's doing there." I said, "No, I'm not doing that because I have my grandson and my daughters in the house, and I'm not going to do that. But I could clearly see this man turning my knob. I was in my utility room, and I could see him turning the knob. I could see the knob turning, and I could see his shape in the window. The only thing I couldn't see was him because I had a security light in the back of my house that showed the shape of who he was. And so um, he sent someone there to hurt me based on the fact that I knew that he was gay. And because nobody's going to tell me he didn't. Because you don't go out the house within a matter of seconds. And it's like 7 o'clock at night. And somebody's in the back of your house trying to get in your door in the back of your house. And I never said anything to him about it. But when the police officer came, they opened up the 2 sheds in the back of my house and they said, if you're in there, come out. Well, the lady that lived beside me at that time, she was getting her house renovated, so they had a big dumpster in the back of her house. And I think he was in that dumpster, whoever it was, jumped in that dumpster. And I asked them, could they check the dumpster? And they said, unfortunately, Yvette, we can't because they didn't call us out here. You did, and so we can't go on their property because that would be a violation of their property. But they said, but what we want you to do is keep all your lights on, and we'll be close by. And if the intruder comes back, just call us and we'll be back. And then I said, okay, which made me very uncomfortable for that night. I could not sleep. I was agitated. So as time went on, over some months, he asked me again to take him to work. This time when he asked me to take him to work, I actually did it because I didn't really trust him. I'm being real with you. I seen his demeanor and he kept coming at me, doing evil things. So I just really didn't trust him after I found out that he was gay. Bisexual, however you want to put it. Gay, bisexual, gay. If you bisexual, you gay. And so anyway, he asked me to take him to work on this particular day. And I said, sure, I'll take you to work. Let me get my things. So as I was getting myself together, he was rushing me at my house. He was rushing me to get out the door. So he decided I can't be late for work. He made that very clear. Okay, so as I'm going to Dover, Delaware to take him to work, he says, can you take me to McDonald's? I said, well, I thought you said you can't be late for work. He says, you're always trying to control something. You bitch. I said, you're not going to talk to me like that. I'm a Christian. I don't talk to you like that. You're not going to talk to me that way. Or I can take you back home and you can get your own car. So as I decided to take him back home to get his car, he said, you were trying to make me lose my job. I said, no, I'm not trying to make you lose your job. And then next thing I know, he takes a hold of my steering wheel to try to take me over a bridge. He tried to take me over this bridge. And I could see down the bottom of the bridge where the streams come under the water. And I'm pushing my brake as hard as I can not to go over this bridge. He cuts across oncoming traffic because it's like a bridge that the traffic is coming and going, just a 2-lane bridge. And after he does this, he starts to let up off of the steering wheel, and I get the Holy Spirit. And I told him, I said, I don't know what you just did, but it's not good for you when God shows up like that. I went to the police station in Frederica because I was wondering if I should press charges on him or not. but I had to get my lines about myself. And we started seeing the police coming out of the police station like somebody had just told them that someone was trying to take someone over the bridge. And we sit there and we watched, and I said, I bet they coming out of that police station because of what you just did. But I said, but it's okay. I'm sitting right here. This is the thing. God don't like ugly. You eat what you sow. Over time, it wasn't too long after that he got in a car accident. And now he came home from work. He was staying in a motel because he couldn't stay at my house no more. God told me to put him out, and that's exactly what I did. And he was staying in a motel, and he was coming to my house that morning to see me. And when he actually came, somebody dropped him off at my house. And I said, why do you look like that? You're all dirty. What happened to you? And your demeanor is off. His eyes wasn't even connected to his head. You know how God says, I'll let you see my desires upon your enemies? He certainly did. He brought him back to my house like that. And he said, Yvette, I was in a car accident. And I said, oh, okay. And he said, well, I need you to take me to go get my car out of the impound because they're charging me $300 a day for my car to stay in the impound. I said, okay. I said, well, you need to go to the hospital. You don't need to worry about your car. Really, you need to go to the hospital right now. He says, I'm not going to no hospital. I don't give a, you know what would you say? And then I said, okay, because he was scared of going to the hospital because he had so many amputations on his foot. So he had something against the hospital. And I understand that. So I took him, and then he got AAA to pull his car to my house, park it in the back. Well, that whole weekend after that accident, I kept telling him, you need to go to the hospital. I'll go with you. We can sit in the lobby together. I'll go with you. He said, I'm not going to the hospital. I don't care what you say. And then I said, okay, well, he didn't want to go to the hospital. So he tried to make his way back to work. He was working in Wilmington, Delaware at that time. And I was living in a place called Allendale, Delaware. And he was going to work, never made it to work. He came back to my house that morning and he said, knocked on my door. And I said, what are you doing here? I thought you said you went to work. And he said, no, I couldn't make it. There's something wrong with me. I need to go to the hospital. And then I said, okay, do you need me to take you? He said, yes. Can you take me to the hospital, please? And I said, yeah. So I took him to the hospital. And when he went to the hospital, his blood pressure was up really high. And I asked the doctor, well, what's wrong with his eyes? They don't look like they're connected. There's something wrong with him. And can you get someone here, like an eye doctor, to check his eyes out? So all he was worrying about was his computer and his bag. So he asked me, could I go and get his stuff out my car? I said, sure. I went and got his stuff out my car, brought it into the hospital room. And I waited with him until 4 o'clock that day. Because I wouldn't leave him because his blood pressure was up high. He was a diabetic. And I said, when the doctor told me, well, at least we got his blood pressure down, it's regulated. And then I said, okay, well, then I'm going to leave now because I hadn't eaten all day and I want to go home. So I went to go get something to eat. And then I went home, but I told him before I left, I wouldn't be back. I said, you got your cell phone and everything. And you can call your family so they can come up here to assist you. I said, but being that your family don't care for me, I will not be back up here. And he said, okay, that was all right with them. So they made sure that I could not come back up there to see him by blocking me from him. They put things in place. Now, that doesn't even make sense for you to block me from seeing him when I was the one that took him there to get the help that he needed. He came to me. He didn't come to you. He came to me. But this is the thing. Some people are just evil, very dark-seated, very twisted the way they think. But he was in the hospital for 2 weeks fighting for his life, and he eventually passed away July the 28th of 25. He had a car accident right down from a bridge. So that's what I mean by you eat what you sow. When you think that God is not looking at you and you think you're getting away with what you do to others, and especially when God knows that that person is living upright, that person is living by my standards, they're not doing anything to you, but you going around, you telling lies on that person's demeanor. You got your family thinking I'm one way when I'm nothing like what you have described to others. You eat what you sow, and that's what happened to him. And this is the prayer that I like to share with you all, that I prayed the whole time that I saw him. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. One day I woke up and I was walking around my house. Now, I always walk around my perimeter. This particular day, I walk around my perimeter. I see a hole dug up like a grave in my yard. Then I see these bones put by where he knew I laid my head in my house, but he did this on the outside of my house. He took and put bones on the outside of my house. I had a funeral home calling me 3 times straight for me to make arrangement for a burial site. I'm not even familiar with this funeral home. I've never dealt with them. So my aunt was with me and she says, oh, I see what's going on now. But whatever's going on, it ain't going to happen to you. Oh, they don't know. It's going to go back to the sender. And this is the thing. They were plotting my death. I don't know if it was his whole family involved. I don't know. But they were plotting for me to not be here, baby. Listen to me very well. All because of their dark secret that he was a faggot, that he was gay, he was bisexual. You don't take someone's life based on the fact that you want to keep your dirty secrets covered up. I don't care about your dirty secrets, but God does. I didn't ever care who you was because I knew one thing, you weren't going to never be with me the way you were before I found out who you were. I knew that you were cut off from my life in so many ways that you had access to before I did get that close to you. I'm telling you, it was awful. It was dark-seated. So anyway, as time went on, I wake up one morning and all this white stuff's put down on my porch, under my rug, on my porch. And this cardinal, this bird had died from whatever he ate that he put down for me to walk on, which was witchcraft. It was witchcraft, voodoo, hoodoo, whatever, trying to take my life. God don't like ugly. You reap what you sow. And so after he did all this stuff to me, and this was before he died. This was before he died. This happened in the same week he ended up in the hospital. The same week he had that car accident. God made all this come to light. And he showed me so much that he had did. He had been putting some gunk all up in my kitchen cabinets. Gunk all in my cabinets, in my kitchen. When he died, when he was in the hospital fighting for his life, he had put all this gunk like voodoo, some kind of stuff that he made up, putting it all on my walls, on my cabinets, anywhere he could put it, trying to kill me, all because it's dark secret, which was of the devil. But anyway, I'm going to share my prayer with you all about what, how I fought against this demonic demon that was in him. Because we don't fight against flesh and blood. Yeah, we see him acting out as the demon, But we don't fight against flesh and blood. We're actually fighting real demons when you see these entities enter into these people that allow them to be used by the devil doing his dirty deeds. And just to make it clear, he passed away July the 28th, 2025. So when I gave y'all that little clip on Facebook, it was because I was still grieving, because I'm not that kind of person. And even though he was doing all the evil he could do to me, I never wanted to see this man die. I never wanted to see him get hurt. But you know what? When you do things to hurt people, and God knows this person's not rocking with you that way, it comes back to you. You will eventually reap what you have sown. So I want to share this prayer with you all that I was using the whole time I saw the darkness coming around me. It was Psalms 31. And I won't read all of it, but I'm going to read from 13 to 18. For I have heard the slander of many. Fear was on every side, while they took counsel together against me. They devised to take away my life, but I trusted in thee, O Lord. I said, Thou art my God. My times are in thy hand. Deliver me from the hand of my enemies, and from them that prosecute me. Make thy face to shine upon thy servant. Save me for thy mercy's sake. Let me not be ashamed, O Lord, for I have called upon thee. Let the wicked be ashamed, and let them be silent in the grave. Let the lying lips be put to silence, which speak grievous things proudly and contemptuously against the righteous. This is what I used to fight my enemies. And Jesus Christ used that same prayer too, when he was going through his demise, when it came to his enemies. It is a powerful prayer, and I just thank God for it. Beke 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 kung kanki. Kukabakanari kimiano kunareke. Beke 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 kung kanki. Kukabakanari kimiano kunareke. Beke 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 kung kanki. Kukabakanari kimiano kunareke mianda. Now the prayers that gave me strength, I want to also share with you guys. And here it is. Exodus 14 verse 14. The Lord will fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace, meaning trust in God's power to fight for you, not to act in fear. Fear no man, but fear God. Don't worry about what man can do to you, because even if the man was to take you off the earth, if you belong to God, he coming for your adversary, no matter what they thought they got away with. They gonna reap what they sown. Beke 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 kung kanki. Kuka baka nariki miyano kunareke. Beke 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 kung kanki. And then I want to share with you all Philippians 4 verse 13. I can do all things through Christ Jesus who strengthens me. Meaning to have spiritual strength to endure any circumstance. And I could not have done it without the strength of Jesus Christ. Beke 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 kung kanki. Koka baka nariki miyano kunariki miyanda. Beke 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 kung kanki. Koka baka nariki miyano kunareke. Beke 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 kung kanki. He is with me today, and I pray that he will continue to be with me as I walk alongside him, because I need him in everything I do. I need him. I cannot make it in this life without him. And I hope that those that need God will reach out to him, and ask him to direct their footsteps and their path, to guide them, to be the head of their life. Because we need God. We can't do this on our own. Beke 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 kung kanki. Mukunareke miyanda. Kokapakanareke mianda konareke mianda konareke mianda. Bapakanareke mianda konareke. Kokapakanareke mianda konareke. I'm grateful. I'm so very grateful that he spared my life. I'm so thankful for all he does for me and my family. In the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Kureke bokonareke mianda. Babakonareke mianda konareke. Beke 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 konkanki. Kokabakanareke mianda. You guys be blessed.